Have you ever stopped to think that maybe the person who's betrayed you the most in life is you? Not because of some calculated mistake, but because of those moments when your emotions made the call for you. A rash gesture, a word thrown in anger, a reaction that felt impossible to hold back, and suddenly what was in your hands slips away. Later, you look at yourself and silently admit you gave up control. It wasn't the world that beat you. You let yourself get dragged under. And even if you don't say it out loud, you know it. Every time that happens, you lose a little respect, not just from others, but worse, from yourself. Think about the faces that have left their mark on your life. Some fill you with admiration, others trigger instant distrust. What sets them apart? It's not always intelligence or physical strength or a long list of achievements. There's something more subtle, deeper, that sense they don't crumble inside at the first hit. They're not puppets of their anger, fear, or sadness. And right there, even if you never say it, you recognize something rare: self-control. You can fake confidence, you can put on a calm front, but people can sense when you're in charge of yourself, and when your emotions are really the ones running the show. Now picture life as a chessboard, where every person makes moves not just with what they do, but with what they feel and choose to show. If you let your emotions run wild without discipline, you're basically handing everyone your playbook. Every outburst, every mood swing is like a map anyone can read to figure out how to push your buttons. Nietzsche knew this well. Those who can't rule their inner world are doomed to be ruled from the outside. It's a hard truth, but be honest. If someone can light your fuse or spark your fear with just a single comment, that person has more power over you than you'd like to admit. This isn't about shutting off your heart or turning into some cold rock that feels nothing. Nietzsche didn't admire the numb. He admired those who could feel deeply, yet still decide what to do with those feelings. Respect, that rare, fragile currency, doesn't come from masks. It comes from the inner strength of someone who doesn't need to lose themselves in their passions to be authentic. And if you think respect only comes from big, dramatic acts, you're forgetting that the smallest reactions reveal who you really are: how you respond when someone challenges you, what you do when anxiety tries to take over, how you act when anger comes pounding at the door. Maybe you believe emotions can't be controlled, that when they show up, all you can do is ride the wave. But that belief is dangerous. It's what keeps millions trapped in a loop of knee-jerk reactions, never realizing that every impulse they obey weakens their authority in the eyes of others. Remember, respect isn't begged for. It's earned quietly through consistency and self-mastery. You can dress sharp, speak well, flash degrees and achievements, but if anyone can get under your skin in seconds, that supposed power collapses like a hollow facade. Nietzsche talked about the Übermensch, the one who rises above the crowd not because they're perfect, but because they're free. And to him, freedom started with mastering yourself. Ask yourself, how free are you if your mood can be wrecked by some stranger's comment online? How much do you really own yourself if your heart races with anger at the smallest provocation and you can't stop it? Respect, in his view, is just a reflection of that freedom. People respect those who don't bend to their emotions because they see in them something rare: inner sovereignty. And yes, maybe right now you're thinking of times when you didn't have that control. Not to beat yourself up, but to understand that's where the root of the problem lies. Respect isn't lost over one slip, but every time you hand your will over to an impulse, you're sending the world a silent message: you can move me at will. You do it without realizing it, and worst of all, most people never even question it. But if you truly want to build something solid, a reputation, influence, a life that inspires, you'll have to face those emotions and learn to put them in service of your purpose. Look around. We live in a time when fast reactions are rewarded. Social media, headlines, shallow conversations, everything pushes us to respond without thinking. And it's right there that you can see most clearly who's in control of themselves and who's not. The one who owns their emotions doesn't rush to answer, doesn't get swept up in the noise. Not because they don't care, but because they know every word and every move is a piece in a game you can't play blind. If you want respect, you have to understand, it's not always the loudest voice that wins, but the one who controls the moment. Think about the weight of other people's eyes on you. You can't control their gaze, but you can control what you show them. Will they see someone who gets thrown off course by the slightest change in wind, or someone who stands firm in the middle of a storm? That difference doesn't come from luck. It comes from discipline, built day after day. Nietzsche would say it's impossible to respect someone who doesn't respect themselves, and self-respect begins when you stop being a slave to your own emotional chaos. Maybe you've believed until now that respect is measured in applause, followers, or public recognition. But those are echoes, not roots. Real respect, the kind that doesn't disappear with a rumor or a single mistake, comes from the silent impression you leave when you show that your will is stronger than your impulse. It's the kind of respect that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't beg for attention, but simply commands it, because the person projecting it sends a clear message: I decide, not my emotions. So before you blame the world for not valuing you the way you deserve, ask yourself if you're truly showing them that you're in charge of yourself. Because in that invisible control lies the difference between being respected and merely tolerated, between inspiring trust and raising doubts, between being a player in the game or just another piece on someone else's board. And the most unsettling part is, for Nietzsche, in this game there's no middle ground. You either rule your inner world or you're ruled. You know when an emotion starts to take hold of you. It doesn't always crash in like a shout. Sometimes it slips in like a whisper, like a slow heat rising in your chest, like a tension tightening your muscles that warns you of what's coming. And in that moment, you've got two choices: let that emotion drag you along without a fight, or grab the reins and decide what you're going to do with it. The strange thing is, most people choose the first option, not because they want to, but because they've never learned how to stop themselves in that instant. They believe reacting is inevitable, that their anger, fear, or rush of excitement is stronger than any willpower they could summon. And that's where the real defeat begins, the moment you accept it as natural for your emotions to run the show. Nietzsche saw the person without emotional control as weak, not because they feel, but because they don't direct what they feel. For him, strength wasn't the absence of emotion, but the ability to put it in service of a greater purpose. It's as if life is a constant internal battle, where your reason and your impulses face off every single day, and the outcome of those small battles shapes the course of your entire existence. The one who keeps losing to themselves can't expect the world to look at them with respect, because really, who's going to follow someone who can't even follow themselves? Think about how many opportunities you've lost because of a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe it was an argument where you said something you could never take back, a look of contempt that closed a door, a moment of cowardice you disguised as caution. In every one of those moments, your will was overshadowed by a misdirected emotion. And even when the damage seems small, it piles up. The image you project to the world is built on those moments. If your pattern is impulsiveness, respect will quietly start to fade, even among people who will never tell you to your face. Respect, in the way Nietzsche understood it, isn't about being nice, chasing approval, or avoiding conflict. It's about inspiring a mix of recognition and caution, showing that you're not easy ground to conquer. And you don't earn that through grand speeches, but through the consistency between what you feel and what you do. If your emotions swing your direction around like the wind spins a weather vane, anyone watching will know you're not a pillar, you're just another object drifting aimlessly in the current. For Nietzsche, emotional control wasn't some random trait you're born with. It was a conquest. A daily discipline where every impulse you choose not to follow becomes a brick in the fortress of your character. It's not about suppressing what you feel, but refining it, shaping it so it serves you instead of destroying you. Because when you can do that, you project something almost impossible to fake: solidity. And solidity earns respect even from those who don't share your ideas or values. Picture for a moment that you're being watched at all times, as if every one of your gestures and reactions were under a microscope. This isn't paranoia, it's reality. We're all constantly being evaluated, consciously or unconsciously, by the people around us. How you respond to an attack, how you keep your cool in the middle of chaos, how you react to a provocation, every bit of that sends a message. If that message is, I can be thrown off easily, you've already lost the game before the other person even tries. But if your message is, my calm is not negotiable, even the ones rooting for your downfall will be forced to acknowledge your strength. Nietzsche warned that the world is not a place built to reward weakness. If you don't learn to harden yourself from the inside, you set yourself up to be used, replaced, or ignored. And the hardness he talked about isn't cruelty or cold detachment. It's the toughness of someone who doesn't hand the keys to their inner world over to just anyone. That kind of toughness doesn't make you less human. It makes you more in charge of yourself. And, as a result, more worthy of respect. Life will inevitably test your control. It will come with words timed perfectly to cut you, with injustices that provoke you, with opportunities that demand action under pressure. In each of those tests, you'll have the choice to give in to the impulse or to impose your will. And it's there, in those moments, that your reputation is forged. People might forget what you said in a moment of calm, but they will never forget what you did in a moment of crisis. If you can stay in command of yourself in the middle of the storm, you won't just earn respect, you'll gain a quiet authority that few dare to challenge. Don't confuse control with repression. Repression is hiding what you feel as if it's something to be ashamed of. Control is directing it like a river that turns mills instead of flooding towns. Repression dries you up inside. Control strengthens you. When you learn to control your emotions, even your physical presence changes. People pick up on your composure, your voice takes on a steadier rhythm, your movements communicate confidence. It's not a trick, it's the natural result of not living at the mercy of your own inner swings. And if you think pulling this off is impossible, it's only because you've rarely seen it done. We live in an era that celebrates the quick reaction, that confuses honesty with unfiltered outbursts, that rewards the display of raw emotion as if it were bravery. But Nietzsche would have pointed out that this isn't bravery, it's dependence. You're depending on others to validate how you feel, to react to your explosions. Real bravery is feeling that intensity and still having the power to choose what to show, when, and how. You've probably been told that being yourself means letting everything in your mind and heart spill out without filters. But that's not authenticity, it's carelessness. Being yourself, in the highest sense, means being the best version of you that you can hold steady under any circumstance. It's not about refusing to feel, it's about rising above what you feel so your actions follow your vision, not your impulse. And no matter how far away that sounds, it's within your reach if you understand that every single day is a chance to practice it. Emotional control doesn't just protect you from others' disrespect, it also protects you from yourself. Because often, the biggest damage you'll ever suffer doesn't come from what others do, it comes from what you do in a blind moment. Words you can't take back, choices that complicate your life for years, relationships you wreck in a fit of anger, all of that can be avoided if you learn to pause and remember that your will gets the final say. If you accept that real respect is born from self-mastery, then every day becomes training, not physical training, but mental and emotional. Learning to notice the emotion before you act, to spot the provocation before you fall for it, to respond with intention rather than instinct. And yes, there will be moments when you slip, but every time you stand over your impulse, you've won a battle most people don't even know they're fighting. The world will respect the one who knows how to govern themselves, because that's the kind of person who projects real power, a power that doesn't depend on titles or outside circumstances, but on something no one can take from you, control over yourself. And that power, as Nietzsche knew, is the foundation for every other kind of power. Without it, everything you build will be fragile. With it, even your losses turn into silent victories, because they prove you're the one in command, even when no one else is. Now you understand that respect isn't some decoration you stumble into by chance, and it's not a prize someone else can hand you and make it last forever. It's the natural result of the way you carry yourself. If you stand firm when others fold, if you stay clear-headed when others get lost in the fog, if you can decide in the middle of chaos the same way you would in calm waters, you project a kind of strength that needs no explanation. Real respect is quiet, but deep. And in a world where most people talk more than they act, that depth becomes a rare quality that stands out. You can't demand respect with words, because respect is built through repeated proof that you're in control of yourself. Every time you choose calm over provocation, you send a message. Every time you hold back a response when everyone's expecting you to fire back instantly, you're silently telling the world that no one controls your mind but you. And even if people won't admit it, That creates a recognition that runs deeper than likability or approval. Even someone who's not on your side has to admit, you're not easy to knock down. Nietzsche might have said that real power is invisible to those who can't see it. And that kind of power, the kind born from emotional control, is felt long before it's understood. It's the energy that makes people measure their words before they speak to you, think twice before taking a shot at you, and reconsider before underestimating you. Not because you're untouchable, but because they know you're not the kind of opponent who goes down from a simple emotional shove. Inner strength intimidates without violence, because it makes it clear that shaking you is a waste of effort. But that control isn't a one-time show. One good performance won't cut it. It's a way of life. Every day brings small battles. A comment that could offend you, a gesture that could irritate you, an injustice that could ignite your anger. That's your daily training. No one else will ever fully see it, but the respect you earn is the sum of all those silent victories over yourself. It's those invisible battles that shape how people see you and how they treat you. There will be times when controlling your emotions feels like a sacrifice. You might want to fire back instantly to defend yourself. You might want to shout to prove you're not weak. You might want to slam doors shut just to feel in control. But deep down, you know that if you give in to that impulse, you're not taking control, you're giving it away. Real power isn't about being the first to react. It's about responding when and how you choose. That deliberate choice is a reminder that your will is still your own. It's easy to think emotions are something you have to fight against, but Nietzsche didn't see it that way. It's not about battling them like enemies, it's about turning them into allies. Anger, for example, can be a massive source of energy if you channel it into constructive action. Fear can sharpen your awareness if you use it as a warning instead of a break. Even sadness can drive reflection and change if you don't let it freeze you in place. The respect you earn doesn't come from being expressionless. It comes from showing that you're the architect of your own inner state. There's something deeply freeing about reaching a point where other people's actions no longer decide how you feel. Not because you're numb, but because you've learned to filter what deserves your energy and what doesn't. That conscious selection saves you from pointless wars and lets you focus on the battles that truly matter. People notice that difference. The person who gets outraged over everything burns out fast. The one who only gets outraged over what's worth it becomes someone whose presence commands attention, even in silence. Remember, respect doesn't always come with affection. Some people may fear you, some may avoid you, and a few might test you. Don't aim to be liked. Respect built on pleasing others is fragile and conditional. You're after the kind of respect that stands even when people disagree with you, the kind that survives conflict and challenge. That kind of respect isn't built through concessions. It's built through consistency between your words, your thoughts, and your actions, even when nobody's watching. You'll have to accept that not everyone will value your emotional control right away. Some will mistake it for coldness, others will see it as a lack of passion. But in time, those same people will realize it was never about having no feelings. It was about a deep commitment to your principles and your self-mastery. And when they realize that even if they don't admit it, the way they look at you will change. Because in a world where most people think power is about shouting the loudest, discovering that real power is about staying silent until the right moment is disarming. This path isn't for everyone. It demands patience, constant observation, and the willingness to face your own vulnerability. Because to master your emotions, you first have to face them without fear. You'll need to confront your anger, your pride, your fear, and your desires, and accept that they're all part of you. Only then can you guide them instead of letting them guide you. And when you do, it won't just change how others treat you, it'll change how you treat yourself. One day, you'll look back and see how many inner wars you won without anyone knowing. You'll see conversations where you could have blown up but chose to listen, provocations where you could have fought back but moved on, chances for revenge you let go because they weren't worth your energy. And in that moment, you'll realize that the most valuable respect isn't the one others give you. It's the one that comes from looking in the mirror and knowing that no matter what happens out there, you're still your own master. Nietzsche never asked you to be invulnerable, he asked you to be unbreakable. To let life hit you without letting it shatter your will. To make sure the chaos outside never finds an echo inside you. And if you can do that, you'll have something very few people ever experience. The The certainty that no one can buy you, manipulate you, or break you with a cheap emotional trick. That certainty is an invisible shield, and with it, respect stops being a goal and becomes an inevitable consequence. In the end, the question isn't whether you want to be respected, it's whether you're willing to pay the price for that respect. The price isn't shouting or putting on constant displays of strength. It's the daily discipline of mastering yourself. It's not a short path or a comfortable one, and it's not always recognized. But it's the only one that guarantees that, anywhere, under any circumstances, your worth won't depend on what others say or do. And when you get there, you'll realize that the respect you were chasing outside was always waiting inside you, locked behind a door that only opens for those with the courage to control themselves.